teen ridiculed daily for bringing tire to school until neighbors discover the reason. Every morning, well before the sun graced the sky, Shawn, a resolute teenager, arose, prepared for another day of hauling a tire to school. In his quaint suburban town filled with peculiarities, Shawn's daily routine emerged as a distinctive feature. His subdued self-assurance fascinated some and entertained others. However, he remained indifferent to the laughter or curious gazes of onlookers. On the initial day, his neighbors shared a chuckle observing him wrestle with the weighty tire through the serene suburban roads. Some viewed it as a whimsical teenage fancy, while others disregarded it as an unsuccessful bid for attention. "What's he up to? These kids today always aiming for virile fame." Mrs. Johnson remarked irritably. However irked Mrs. Johnson might have been, not everyone shared her sentiments towards Shawn. Mrs. Jenkins, Shawn's elderly neighbor, found her curiosity piqued and resolved to inquire about his unconventional routine. Fond of the boy for his consistent kindness and respect toward her and her husband, Mrs. Jenkins approached him one morning while he pulled the tire along the sidewalk wearing a friendly smile. "Good morning, Shawn, dear. What's with this tire dragging that's got the whole neighborhood abuzz? Is everything all right?" Mrs. Jenkins inquired, concern lacing her tone. Shawn disclosed that he dragged the tire to school as part of a daily ritual but maintained an air of mystery regarding its purpose. He assured Mrs. Jenkins that it held significance, describing it as a personal mission he felt compelled to accomplish each day. Daily, she observed Shawn in the midst of his customary ritual. Feeling a hunch that this might be useful someday, she opted for an unexpected action. Intrigued by the ongoing spectacle, Mrs. Jenkins trusted her instincts and began recording Shawn's tire-dragging expedition from her living room window. Her aim was to document this unique ritual for her own comprehension and perhaps to share it with others equally intrigued by the phenomenon. As weeks passed, the neighborhood started mocking Shawn, casting peculiar glances and snickering covertly. Laughter echoed along the streets, yet Shawn remained resolute, committed to fulfilling his mission. With a singular focus, Shawn pursued his goal, unwavering in his determination to accomplish what he had set out to do. Undeterred, Shawn persisted in hauling the tire, propelled by an unyielding resolve fueled by a hidden objective. His perseverance sparked discussions in the community. Some admired his dedication, while others labeled him a misunderstood oddity. "I'm disturbed by this boy and his peculiarities already. Why doesn't he end this madness?" Mrs. Johnson grumbled. Mrs. Jenkins grew weary of Mrs. Johnson's constant complaints. She understood that Shawn's actions stemmed from a deeper motivation. She saw him as an intelligent boy. Undeterred by Mrs. Johnson's criticisms, Mrs. Jenkins persisted in filming, her curiosity intensifying regarding the enigmatic nature of Shawn's unusual routine. Sensing layers beneath the surface, she was resolute in her quest to unravel the truth behind the mystery. As Shawn walked by, a cluster of teenagers couldn't resist openly teasing him, ridiculing his tire-dragging ritual. Their jeers resonated in the tranquil morning atmosphere, yet Shawn remained resolute, his gaze fixed on the road ahead. "What's your deal? You think you're superior to us? Cut out this silly routine or we'll put an end to it," one of them threatened. Nevertheless, Shawn persisted with his mission. The laughter and taunts served only to bolster Shawn's determination, fortifying his commitment to persist in his mission. Despite some of the remarks that cut deep, he understood that one day those around him would grasp the significance of his commitment. The tire, once a subject of mockery, would eventually transform into a symbol of hope for many. Mrs. Jenkins, despite being amused by the neighborhood gossip, couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Shawn's story. Although he wasn't saying anything to anyone, including his own parents, she knew that he had a good reason for doing it. She decided to take a more active role in unraveling the mystery and invited Shawn over for tea, hoping he would finally reveal his secret. The quaint living room became a space for trust and confessions as Shawn opened up about the tire and the mission it represented. Over tea, Shawn shared his heartfelt story. The tire symbolized the burden of poverty that many in his community faced. His daily act of dragging it to school was a silent protest, a way to bring attention to the struggles of those less fortunate. It wasn't easy for him to finally open up, but when he did, everything made sense to Mrs. Jenkins. He explained that every day he dragged the tire to school to raise awareness about the hardships faced by families in their own neighborhoods. The tire was a symbol of solidarity and a call to action for those who could make a difference. "I knew you were doing this for a cause far bigger than anything else, my boy. You make me so proud," Mrs. Jenkins said as she hugged me tightly. Mrs. Jenkins, deeply moved by Shawn's sincerity, realized the true meaning behind his actions and pledged to help him in his mission. Together, they hatched a plan to turn the tire-dragging ritual into a community movement for positive change. News about Shawn's tire-dragging campaign spread through the neighborhood, changing the narrative from mockery to admiration. Residents began to understand the purpose behind the peculiar routine and rallied behind Shawn's cause. Even Mrs. Johnson got involved and swore that she knew that he was up to something good all along. Inspired by Shawn's dedication, the community came together to support his cause, organizing charity events and fundraisers for those in need. The tire, once a source of amusement, became a symbol of community strength and compassion. And Shawn, once on a determined mission, was relieved to finally rest now that everyone knew what he was doing and why.